This one's going to be a little bit more ranty than what I normally put on my channel, and maybe slightly more political, but that'll be okay. It's about a buzzword that drives me absolutely up the wall. It's used incorrectly and entirely too frequently, in my opinion, in the dev and especially the venture capital space. That word is disruption. I wrote a blog about this. I'm not just going to read off of the blog, but I'll also post a link in the description to the blog if you want to kind of read my written thoughts a little bit more on this. But basically the idea behind disruption in the VC or kind of like tech guru space is a thing that is slightly different from the other things that makes big waves. I kind of think that that definition and that usage is bullshit for a variety of different reasons, but namely that that's not actually like disrupting anything. If tomorrow, and I'm going to be a little bit sassy and hypothetical here, if tomorrow I created a Twitter clone that was exactly the same as Twitter, did all of the exact same things as Twitter, but like wasn't run by Elon and they called things a little bit different. I'm looking at BlueSky right now. I'll talk a little bit about that later, or maybe not. I don't know. That's not disrupting anything. You are taking user bases from one thing, moving them to another, and slightly changing the way that capital flows. You are changing who the money is going to from those users. You might be changing what amount of money or what kind of business model that looks like or whatever, but that's not disrupting anything. Disruption, in my mind, and a little bit closer, in my opinion, to the objective term, is like actually having an idea that changes the landscape or the industry that you're targeting. If instead of like Twitter, we had like one, major like central social media hub like Twitter is. If instead we had multiple federated, kind of social media sites that all did something different and all had their own moderation and all of this other stuff, that's a little bit more, in my opinion, close to the real definition of disruption. Now, because I mentioned BlueSky, I will go ahead and kind of go off on a slight tangent there. BlueSky has plans to do federation. I'm on BlueSky right now. I'll post my link in the description to like all 5 of you that are on BlueSky right now. It is invite only. It has an idea of how they're going to federate things, but it's not doing that yet. So right now, it's not disruptive. Right now, it is a Twitter clone that is invite only and works slightly worse than Twitter does in some ways, but is mostly better at doing Twitter than Twitter is right now. It's under different leadership. There are like a handful of devs who are working on it right now, and it seems like for all intents and purposes, it was not supposed to blow up the way that it did. It did, and it became the thing, kind of like the place to be, and people are kind of acting like it's disruptive, but in its current form, it is not at all disruptive. It's not really changing the way social media works. It's not doing anything different other than moving money and user bases from one platform to another, and it's barely even doing that because most people are tweeting and skeeting. Yes, they're calling it skeeting on BlueSky as well. So I guess part of this is like pedantry. Part of this is me kind of being annoying and saying like I'm tired of people using words wrong. But the other part of this is me genuinely wanting there to be actual disruption. Like, let's take a look at social media and really change things. Let's do things differently. That's what Mastodon did. And Mastodon is imperfect. I don't even post on Mastodon all that often anymore because the discovery isn't very good. There aren't very many interesting conversations on there, in my opinion, and it's kind of clunky. But Mastodon is disruptive because it's doing things differently. It's different from Twitter. It's different from LinkedIn. It's different from Facebook. It's doing things in a different way. The federated model that Mastodon has is cool. It's broken. It doesn't work very well, but it is different. It's a completely different thing, and the Fediverse idea is here to stay. It's a really cool idea, and I really hope that it continues to take off. And I hope that they fix a lot of the problems that, the Fediverse has, specifically with content discovery. But really, the core of my approach here is that there are two good examples that are interrelated to discuss disruption. There is BlueSky and there is the protocol. Now, you're immediately going to, raise your finger, but those are the same thing. They're not the same thing. BlueSky is a front-end wrapper functionally on the protocol. The protocol being the kind of idea that Jack Dorsey and several others have kind of come up with to create a federated social media idea that's an alternative to Mastodon. It is a full protocol that is going to handle how federation works, how content moderation works, all of that. Right now, it's just an idea. It's a series of blog post articles that supposedly the devs are working on fairly actively right now. But BlueSky blew up, and I think the devs are probably having to pay way more attention to BlueSky than they are the protocol. The protocol is disruptive. It is different. It is actually changing the way social media can work. Until these federated ideas become code and are implemented into the BlueSky code base, and we are able to set up our own instances and our own identity servers and all of this other stuff, BlueSky is not disruptive. It's just another Twitter clone. It's just another social media site. And as we found out over the last couple of weeks, Nazis are coming, and they're going to continue coming. Even though it's this invite-only site, people started inviting the worst parts of the internet to BlueSky. And it's going to happen, especially once BlueSky, like the main instance, opens up registration, which will happen. I mean, it's going to happen eventually. It's just going to be the exact same as Twitter. It's going to have the exact same problems as Twitter until they figure out the federation model, the moderation model, all of that. It's not disruptive. The protocol is. It's a new idea. It's something that is actually going to meaningfully change social media if it is actually implemented. So, at the end of all of this ranting and rambling, I want us to go back to the real definition of disruption. I want us to stop using it in the way that we have been and saying, well, this is disruptive because now the money is going from this person over to this person. That's not disruption. That's moving capital. It's a completely different thing. Disruption, in my mind, is actually changing the way things work, changing the way things are done, actually like creating upheavals that meaningfully benefit society in some way, or at least change society in some way. It doesn't even have to be beneficial. We've seen lots of disruptive things that have not been beneficial. The nuclear bomb was very disruptive, not necessarily beneficial to humanity. So that's the end of an 8-minute ramble. I wrote a blog post about this and figured it might be a cool thing to chat on YouTube about. But that's about it. Take it easy. Peace.